As I've watched the Democrats in the first half of 2019, I'm reminded of a serial killer driven by a terrible obsession. The voices in his head push him to kill and kill again. He's smart enough to evade capture, but somewhere deep inside him, a tiny spark of human decency causes him to make small, easily avoidable mistakes. One of the detectives on his trail picks up a tiny bit of evidence and says, "This guy wants to get caught." In January, New York passed a late-term abortion bill that allows a mother and her doctor to decide whether a full-term child should be allowed to die. The Democrats celebrated this by lighting the Freedom Tower with pink light. You know, the color you paint the nursery when you bring home your precious baby daughter. It was as if they were sending a signal directly to all Democrat women who had had abortions but no children. It was like a challenge. Look, pink! We are celebrating the deaths of baby girls, the daughters you never had. They sent an arrow into the hearts of their own feminist voters with that pink light. The women who will die alone someday, who will flicker out like a spent candle, leaving nothing behind in this world except failed ideology. Just after that, Ralph Northam, still under the gun for his blackface incident, went on camera to defend Virginia's similar bill. He admitted outright that a full-term baby could be delivered and then allowed to die. He defended that idea. Am I the only person who thought that sounded like a confession called into police from a remote phone booth? Just this past week, we saw the Raw Powerlifting Federation revoke the medals from a biological male who had set records beating biological women in a women's event. I thought, good, that's a good sign. Sanity is beginning to return to sports. But the very next day, Nancy Pelosi led House Democrats to a unanimous yes vote on a bill to change the Civil Rights Act in order to force schools to let boys compete against girls. They want this in the Civil Rights Act, one of the very few accomplishments that liberals everywhere can be proud of. I can't wait to hear how Candace Owens frames this for the Black Americans that she is quietly liberating from the Democratic plantation, one by one. What a year this has been. Let's jump back to January for a second, because the demos came out of the gate trying to get caught. We had the MAGA kids incident. It seemed that the entire left leaped to a conclusion in seconds. Many called out for doxing and violence toward these teenagers who turned out to be innocent. Then, with eggs still on their faces, the exact same people did the exact same thing with the Jussie Smollett case. Not one left-wing pundit so much as questioned why two Trump dudes would wait in freezing cold at 2 a.m. outside Smollett's building on the infinitesimally small chance that he'd go out for a stroll. The Chicago cops saw through that in about 30 seconds, and they charged Smollett himself. Then, too, I thought, okay, good, we got some sanity here. But then the Democrat woman of color in charge of prosecuting this obviously criminal fraud dropped the charges. This is a direct slap to the face of rank-and-file Democrats who are getting very tired of being forced to defend this nonsense. What's the takeaway? This is the takeaway. They're trying to get caught. Now, in May, unable to deal with the complete unraveling of their Russia collusion fraud, Democrats have turned their jackal attentions on Attorney General William Barr. They're trying now to discredit the guy who merely announced the news of their own failure to falsely discredit the president. No problem, we'll just kill the messenger, right? They're going after Bill Barr? Do they know what an attorney general can do? This is the guy they decide to piss off? Barr could run an investigation backwards into Obama land and ruin the legacy of their precious first black president. What is wrong with these people? This psychotic behavior is confounding the 24 hopeful candidates trying to unseat Trump and get power back for the Democrats. Just as their hats were entering the race, demos in Congress exalted 3 young women of color who'd swept into the House in the midterms. The one with the highest profile was peddling a radical agenda that would virtually reinvent this nation from the ground up. Demos treated her arrival like the second coming. This caused the initial frontrunners to jump on that bandwagon, which rapidly went into a ditch. Seen Kamala Harris's numbers lately? What about Beto? Even the late-night hosts have turned on him. He might as well go home now, and Harris should probably go with him. Did House Democrats wisely push the Three Mouseketeers into a closet with orders to shut up until they learned the script? No. And now both Omar and Tlaib have been recorded saying things that fall on Jewish ears as borderline anti-Semitic, at the very least. Can the demos afford to offend Jewish voters? No, they can't. But the Spice Girls are still front and center. And last week, Pelosi let AOC wield the gavel, the youngest woman ever to do so. Hello? Congressional Democrats are still throwing their weight behind immature, underqualified women for no other reason than the worship of pointless diversity. They are so far off track, they can't remember what the track looks like. And into this shit show has stepped the one guy who harks back to a pre-insanity Democrat Party. Yes, Joe Biden entered at number 1. The old white guy with no radical agenda is the only candidate with a chance at this point to beat Donald Trump. And he is way out in front. This is your plea agreement, you idiots. This is the detective taking your call from that remote phone booth. He's offering you a deal. Stop this reign of terror and confess your crimes, and maybe, just maybe, you can stay off death row. But even as you listen to the voice of sanity, your fingers begin to twitch and sweat begins to bead on your brow. Through the window, you can see a car pull up across the highway with a flat tire. And in your mind, you know what you'll do. You know that you will present yourself as a good Samaritan to that vulnerable motorist. And by sunup, the cops will find another body in the weeds. You won't stop because you can't stop. And even Detective Joe Biden will get caught up in your web of madness as he is seduced by his own desire for the ultimate promotion. So keep the crazy coming. Keep prowling midnight parking lots with duct tape and bone saws and shovels in the trunk. Keep scattering your DNA and leaving your fingerprints on window glass. Keep pushing. Just keep pushing. Eventually, even the most stupefied American liberal will reach the limits of denial. And then... well, then it will be all over, and you will finally be taken off the streets. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and then click the little bell to get notifications.